This has been an unusual budget year. The Congress did not receive details of the administration's budget until May, which provided little time for review and hearings. The budget request reflects significant program changes, yet lack transparency into the analysis and assumptions used to justify these program shifts. For example, sweeping missile defense decisions have been made ahead of the Quadrennial Defense Review and prior to the administration's completion of its missile defense policy and strategy review. By making such decisions now, it appears the Department is prejudicing the outcome of these reviews. Given these extenuating circumstances, I commend the Chairman for her efforts this year. This year's MARC contains many sound measures that provide key capabilities to our warfighters, strengthen our nation's strategic forces, and sustain the intellectual capital supporting our national security infrastructure. However, there are some areas where the MARC does not go far enough to address my concerns with this year's budget request. I will briefly discuss these concerns at the end of my remarks, and I plan to address them as amendments during our full committee markup next week. First, I'm pleased to associate myself with the Chairman's efforts to bolster the National Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA, Stockpile Stewardship Program. In a bipartisanship manner, the committee has built a trifecta of legislative provisions focused on strengthening the scientific and technical infrastructure supporting the nuclear security complex. These provisions build upon the recommendations of the Bipartisan Strategic Posture Commission, which our Chairman had a great deal to do with, and provide NNSA with the flexibility necessary to increase the long-term reliability, safety, and security of our nuclear weapons stockpile. At our May hearing, the NNSA administrator characterized fiscal year 2010 as a, quote, treading water year, close quote. The committee concurs. The sustainment of the infrastructure and human capital upon which our nuclear deterrent rests is too important to merely tread water. Therefore, I strongly endorse the $132 million added to the Stockpile Stewardship Program in such areas as science, ignition, advanced computing, and operation of facilities. I also support the committee's decision to extend the Strategic Posture Commission. The Commission did a great service to our nation by advancing a consensus view on many seemingly contentious nuclear issues. I am hopeful the White House, working with members of Congress and the soon-to-be Undersecretary of State, can build upon this momentum as it works to define its nuclear policies and posture. The MARC makes positive strides in the areas of national security, space, and intelligence. Continuing the committee's efforts last year, the MARC reflects a measured approach to space acquisition and provides stable funding for important programs in satellite communications, GPS, missile warning, and operationally responsive space. It also directs a review of options for restructuring the NPOS program in light of cost, schedule, and management issues, and development of a strategy to address protected satellite communication requirements given the TSAT termination. Equally important, the MARC demonstrates a commitment by this committee to preserve the space industrial base and promote valuable space science and technology efforts. The MARC includes two important intelligence provisions. First, it requires a plan to ensure the national labs maintain robust nuclear intelligence capabilities. Second, the MARC requires a plan to ensure significant analytical capabilities in the area of foreign ballistic missile intelligence, particularly long-range missiles. During recent briefings, it was brought to my attention that we have insufficient analytical capabilities and resources to keep pace with these developing systems. This is an important provision, especially given recent events in North Korea and Iran. In the area of missile defense, I was disappointed, chiefly with the administration's decision to cut it by $1.2 billion below the fiscal year 2009 appropriated level, which the MARC sustains. I cannot reconcile why the administration has decided to decrease missile defense funding while daily news reports substantiated by our own intelligence services articulate an increasing missile threat. In a hearing a few weeks ago, several of us asked that the committee be provided any analysis, threat assessments, and requirements to justify these reductions. To this date, I have not received any of this such documentation. Furthermore, should the administration's overall budget cuts be sustained, we stand to lose over 11,000 American jobs across the country. Although the intent of this subcommittee is not to protect jobs, there is a distinct correlation between providing the necessary resources to sustain our strategic assets as well as the industrial base that provides the underlying infrastructure, capabilities, and talent. Although I'm concerned with the top-line cut to missile defense, I'm deeply concerned about the specific cuts to our national missile defense system. These include the 35% cut to the Ground-Based Mid-Course Defense GMD system in Alaska and California, and the administration's decision to decrease the planned number of fielded interceptors, terminate construction of a missile field in Alaska that is partially complete, and curtail additional GMD development. Secretary Gates made this program decision earlier in the year, but noted that he would be open to revisiting it if the threat changed. Ironically, the day before the budget was released, North Korea demonstrated a Taepodong-2 long-range ballistic missile, followed later in the month by a nuclear test that it threatened to conduct, and the launch of 6 ballistic missiles. The same month, Iran successfully tested a new 2,000-kilometer ballistic missile capable of reaching Israel and parts of Europe. We currently hear reports that North Korea is preparing to carry out another of its public threats, an ICBM launch. I would echo what our intelligence agencies are confirming, that there is an increasing threat to the United States and her friends and allies that consists of long, medium, and short-range ballistic missiles. This range of threats demands a comprehensive missile defense system. Instead of a missile defense cut, we must invest in capabilities that protect the U.S. homeland, our forward-deployed troops, and our allies. The MARC supports the administration's increase in theater missile defenses, which I strongly support. These systems, Aegis and THAAD in particular, are important capabilities that provide protection of our forward-deployed troops and allies from short-range missiles. Unfortunately, the administration's $1.2 billion cut has forced a trade, a false choice, pitting national missile defense against theater missile defense. This false choice has produced unsubstantiated cuts to national missile defense when both are necessary and both could be adequately funded. It also sets up political debates on defenses that should not be political. We also have an industrial base issue that several of us raised at our last hearing. The GMD second and third tier supplier production lines could go cold in 2009 and 2010. Without a conscientious effort to sustain them and incorporate system modernization, the GMD system risks obsolescence. To address this point, the MARC contains a bipartisan provision that establishes a GMD sustainment and modernization program, and I greatly appreciate the Chairman's willingness to work with me on this important initiative. Reduction in future capabilities like the Airborne Laser, ABL, Kinetic Energy Interceptor, KEI, and Multiple Kill Vehicle, MKV, also causes concern for many members of this committee, which I expect will be raised during the full committee markup. Let me only say that some of the more mature programs we now tout were once research and development programs such as these. In line with promising capabilities, MDA has introduced a new concept, Ascent Phase Intercept. In particular, there is a concern that the Department is willing to give up on boost phase and mid-course capabilities, which have made considerable progress, while ascent phase is still a PowerPoint concept. The Chairman has agreed to work with me to craft language addressing these concerns, and I greatly appreciate it. Lastly, along with my colleague Jim Marshall, introduced a bipartisan bill yesterday entitled NATO First. This bill seeks to fortify America's transatlantic security links with our European allies and partners. Several of its policy provisions are germane to the strategic forces portfolio, including one addressing European missile defense, others extended deterrence and START negotiations. I hope to work with my friends across the aisle to incorporate these provisions into the fiscal year 2010 NDAA. Madam Chairman, I close by reiterating my concerns with actions taken by the administration to reduce missile defense at a time when the threat posed by nations such as North Korea and Iran are increasing. My colleagues and I will seek to address these concerns in the full committee markup next week. Nonetheless, I do believe we have a well-crafted mark before us, where, as my predecessor would say, we agree on far more than we disagree. You have my commitment to work across the aisle as we move this bill through the House and Senate. On a final note, I would like to thank the other members of the subcommittee and the staff for their hard work. And I would also like to thank you, Madam Chairman, for your candor, openness, and as you prepared this mark. And I wish you all the best in your new position. And I recommend adoption of the Chairman's mark and encourage my colleagues to support it.